Today on Ask Miyazaki, we talk about separate departmental social media accounts, companies that have never used social media marketing, and how much is too much advertising. Michael asks, what would be your number one tip for an established service company who has never used social media marketing? Michael, a lot of people will find it hard to imagine that there are companies these days that have not yet ventured into the social media marketing world. But your question's valid because there are definitely still a lot of them. Now, we may want to distinguish between social media marketing versus having a social media presence versus having some social media accounts. Most companies that have at least a minimal web presence also have at least a few social media accounts. But often, those accounts are rarely used and they're unlikely to be used well. For other companies, they're in the middle. They've ramped up their social media usage to the point that you could talk about them having a reasonable media presence, but it's quite likely that they're not using social media in a true marketing sense. And then there are the companies that are using their social media at or close to its full marketing potential, where they can inform, remind, persuade, and connect with customers and potential customers. For a company, particularly a service company, that has not yet moved into the marketing side of social media, I'm going to give you 3 tips instead of just 1. Tip 1. Know your target audiences with respect to social media usage. This means that first, you'll need to identify who your audiences are. And when I say audiences, I do mean audiences plural. This is not just your customer base, but also the people who could influence your client base. If you're a B2B company, you probably need to include purchasing agents or other frontliners who might be able to influence the purchasing process. If you're a B2C company, maybe friends or family members or market mavens, that's a word from the past, should be included in your set of target audiences. By the way, a market maven is a person who tends to collect and retain information about products, deals, purchase sources, etc., and then share those with others. It's kind of an old school influencer of sorts, but they don't get paid and they don't go around calling themselves influencers. After identifying your target audiences, you'll need to learn how they consume their social media. Do they tend to be weekend users or are they daily users? If they're daily, are they consuming during the day, like while at work, or in the evenings after work? What kind of content are they consuming? Is it all for fun, or is there work-related content there as well? Tip 2. Make content that your target audiences want to consume. This, unfortunately, is easier said than done. The key here is to spend enough time learning what your audiences like, and then find a way to create similar content that integrates with the brand values and the brand voice of your organization. This may take some experimentation or trial and error, but the beauty of social media is that you can get immediate feedback. As you create content, remember that people do not want to see content that looks like advertising. They want something that will inform them or entertain them or intrigue them or even surprise them. The best content is content that elicits positive interactions with your audiences. The idea is to build a community that can contribute to new ideas, that can discuss best practices, and that can enjoy the positive aspects of your industry. And by the way, there are fantastic opportunities to build social media communities with service industry companies. People like to talk about their experiences with services, and this can give you amazing opportunities to showcase positive experiences. You just need to be aware of the potential for negative experiences to dominate the conversations and be ready to respond to this current crowd mentality that social media should be a place where customer service issues can be resolved. There's also the potential for social media shaming, where disgruntled customers will call out your company on a social media platform, sometimes in an attempt to pressure you into resolving their issue. You'll need to build a policy and processes as to how to deal with proactive content development versus reactive content development that addresses negative posts. Finally, tip 3. Let your audiences know you have content for them on social. If your company is new to social, you won't already have a built-up following, so now you need to build it. Start with your current customers and then find like-minded people who will both enjoy your content and who can add to the community. It's important to not focus solely on people who will buy what you sell. People who contribute to your community, even if they never purchase from you, will help to make your community worthwhile for all the others, including your customers. To build your social media following, you may actually have to resort to social media advertising. That's fine. But think of it initially as an investment in community building rather than an investment in direct sales, at least at the start. It's important to have that mindset at the beginning so you don't cut off the ads too soon. Eventually, though, you will want to research how your social media marketing is affecting audience attitudes and behaviors. In the end, social media marketing is still marketing, and all marketing should generate some return on investment. Bridget asks, should each department in a company have its own social media initiatives as well as their own social media accounts? I really like this question because there's no easy answer to it, so thank you, Bridget. The grand fantasy of marketers when it comes to integrated marketing communications is that all brand messaging will be coordinated toward one set of end goals. Before social media, and even before digital platforms and the internet, brands could direct messages to their various types of audiences without too much worry about overlap. This meant that brands could communicate one set of messages to customers, another set to suppliers, another set to investors, another set to regulators, etc. Now, however, all messages posted to a website or to social media are visible to virtually anyone, which means that targeting messages to various audiences can be difficult. This is even more difficult if the company chooses to only use one set of social media accounts that will reach each of these various types of audiences. One solution is to do what you mentioned. Have a different social media account for each of those departments. Now, these can be run by the departments themselves or by a central marketing group within the company. Here are the pros and cons of each of those choices. If you allow specific departments to run their own social media, the benefit is that people in those departments are closer to their target audiences and, theoretically, can create more relevant content as well as be more effective in responding to audience inquiries. The downside is that they may not have the skills to create acceptable content, and they may end up taking messaging off-brand on occasion when creating responsive content. On the other side is the idea of having the central marketing team run the departmental social media accounts. In this case, messages remain on brand, but the effectiveness of the created content will likely be decreased because the central team probably is not as connected with the audiences as are those people in the individual departments. So, it ends up being an issue of control versus effectiveness. And as much as I'm a bit of a control freak, I'm even more of a champion for effective content. So my suggestion would be to open up at least one social media channel for each department and let them build connections and community with their specific target audiences. With the right amount of support from central marketing and a little bit of oversight from central, this will work better to form stronger relationships with your business partners. Jordis asks, how much is too much advertising? Oh, these questions that seem so simple but require the classic "it depends" types of answers. So let me give you a few "it depends" types of scenarios to consider. First of all, advertising should be conducted with a clear goal in mind of what the keepers of the brand want to achieve. Now, while many advertisers were not necessarily trained to think in terms of return on investment, the truth is that ROI needs to be a key component of advertising analysis. In other words, if it doesn't, at least eventually, make us money, then we probably should not be doing it. With that said, there are several goals of advertising that we could keep in mind to know when we have enough advertising and when we're getting uncomfortably close to having too much advertising. Marketing communications are normally designed to inform, remind, persuade, and/or connect. If your goal of a particular advertising campaign is to inform, and your research shows that your audience is sufficiently informed, then you're done. No need to continue spending money on ads that are really not needed. And no need to continue inundating your audiences with ads that are no longer relevant to them. If they already know what you're telling them, they may start to experience ad burnout, which means that they're getting tired of your ads or your campaigns, which can also transfer to brand burnout, where they're getting tired of actually seeing your brand. The same goes for other goals, such as reminding, persuading, and connecting. When you see that the majority of your audience has been moved to where you want them in terms of brand image or brand knowledge, product knowledge, purchase intention, etc., then from both monetary perspectives and the idea of audience burnout perspectives, it's probably time to end the campaign. I will say, though, that the beauty of digital is that you can target ads to people who have not yet seen those ads while keeping those ads away from the audience members who are potential candidates for burnout. This is something that traditional advertising, such as television, radio, billboards, magazines, etc., was really incapable of doing to this degree. As a result, by embracing digital, you can save money and reputation by knowing it's enough advertising or too much advertising for some audience members, and instead spend your money wisely for those audience members who still need a little more of what you're offering. Well, that's all for today. Thank you very much for the questions. I always appreciate them. If you have a question about digital marketing, personal branding, social media, analytics, marketing communications, or anything related, tweet it using the hashtag AskMiyazaki. If you have not already subscribed, be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can be notified of future installments of Ask Miyazaki, Monday's Marketing Minute, or whatever else comes your way. And have a great day.